הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
Good afternoon and Shabbat Shalom and welcome. It really is great. We just sang the words Hine Ma Tov U'ma Naim, how great it is that we're all sitting here together. It is great. It's great to be here on the occasion of Eli's becoming Bar Mitzvah. And it's great as we move through these stages of the pandemic that we actually can be sitting together, brother and sister, cousin and aunt and uncle and grandparent and friend. It's very exciting that we are more and more able to gather in person and be here for these moments. And it's also, we're grateful that there are so many other ways that we can bring people to this moment. So we welcome all of you here who have traveled to be here or who are here locally, and we also welcome those who are joining us through streaming and are still just as much a part of this moment. It's great to celebrate with Eli as he steps up and becomes a bar mitzvah. He takes on a new role in his life and in his family and in his community. So it's an honor to be with him and to celebrate this moment. I would encourage you as we continue with the service to participate as much as you can and are comfortable. There are some prayer books in the seat backs in front of you. It's the thinner of the two books that you'll see in front of you called Mishkan Tefillah. You can take that out and you can see that the prayers are transliterated, and of course there are some English readings that we'll do together as well. If you're following from home, if you look at the website, just above the box where the video is, there is an icon that says Mishkan Tefillah. That's the name of the prayer book, and if you click on that, it will open up the PDF, and you can also follow along by putting the page numbers into the box at the bottom or by using the arrows to navigate the pages. So we hope that you'll join with us. Let me also just say that we are grateful for all of you for keeping your masks on throughout the service, and remind you that if you're coming up onto the bima for some reason, whether it's for a Torah blessing or if you're coming up for the Torah passing, you can take your mask off for that moment while you're on the bima. Even while when we're over here doing the Torah reading with Eli, Cantor Zell and I will keep our masks on because we're going to be standing right among you, but the rest of you can unmask, and we'll do that for while you're up here on the bima. Now, we recognize this is an important moment for the Jewish people and for the community and for Eli, but it's also, the moment of him becoming Bar Mitzvah is important for his parents. So I want to invite Matt and Heather to stand with him for a moment now and offer a private blessing to him as he begins this life cycle event. And we can pray silently, and Cantor Zell will share a blessing with us too.
Lechi lach to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha to a place you do not know. Lechi lach on your journey I will bless shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechilach. Please rise and turn to page 226 for the Amidah. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Eternal God, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Velohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Velohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, Umevi Geula livnei v'neihem, Leman Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah.
We continue in responsive prayer on page 229. Our fathers and mothers prayed, each through their own experience of God, each through their own visions, which we have come to share.
Abraham, with the fervor of justice, pleaded the cause of cities. Sarah, in the pain of waiting, dared to hope for new life.
Isaac, meditating alone in the field, lifted his eyes to find love. Rebekah asked for the ability to discern God's call.
Jacob climbed the rungs of his night into heaven, seeking destiny. Leah dreamed of love, and Rachel saw harmony.
We, as they seek God's presence. We continue together on page 230 with Givirut. Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechaye Hakol, Atah Rav Lechoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechokel Hayim Bechesed, Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofei Holim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishene Afar, Micha Mocha Baal Gevurot, Umidom Melach, Melech Memit, Umechayeh, Umatmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lehachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. We continue responsively on the next page. Your might, O God, is everlasting. Help us to use our strength for good and not evil.
You are the source of life and blessing. Help us to choose life for ourselves and our children.
You are the support of the falling. Help us to lift up the fallen.
You are the author of freedom. Help us to free the captive.
You are our hope in death as in life. Help us to keep faith with those who sleep in the dust.
Your might, O God, is everlasting. Help us to use our strength for good.
For blessing and not curse, for life and not death, for abundance, not want. We continue with Kiddushah on page 232.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות. Adirenu Adonai, Adonenu Madir Shimcha b'chol haaretz. Baruch kevod Adonai mimkomo. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Moshienu vehu Yashmienu, berachamav leinei kol chai. Ani Adonai Elohechem, yimloch Adonai leolam, Elohayich Tzion, ledor vador. Hallelujah. Ledor vador nagid godlecha, ulenetzach netzachim kedushatcha nagdish, v'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush, leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
To all generations we will declare your greatness, and for all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, is shall never depart from our lips. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Please be seated. Our service continues on page 234 with the chanting of Kadshenu. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu ritzei v'imnuchatenu kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha v'tein helkenu b'toratecha sabeinu mituvecha v'samechenu b'shuatecha v'taher libenu le'ovdecha be'emet v'hanhilenu Adonai Eloheinu be'ahava uvratzon Shabbat kodshecha v'yanuhu v'Yisrael mekadeshei shemecha Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Please join me responsively on page 235. For the good in us, which calls us to a better life, we give thanks.
For the strength to improve the world with our hearts and hands, we give praise.
For the peace in us, which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful.
For the gift of Shabbat, which renews us for life, we offer blessing.
Page 237. Adonai, our God, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer. Wherever we live, wherever we see you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Page 238. Modim anachnu lach, sha'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, leolam va'ed. Tzur hayenu, magain yishenu, atah hu lidor vador. Page 239. For the gift of our souls, for the promise of our lives, for all we are and all we might yet become, for the creative seeds sown within our minds, whose nurturing can yield a grand harvest. For all these gifts, we thank you, O God, and pray that we prove ourselves worthy, together. May our lives be ripe with the fruit of compassion, sweetly sustaining those in need. May we use our gifts wisely and with love, true messengers of blessing to the world. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot.
We'll continue with Shalom Rav on page 240. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Ki Atahu Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom Ki Atahu Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam. We continue in silent prayer. Ose shalom bimromav Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu Ve'al kol Yisrael Ve'imeru amen Ose shalom bimromav Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel Ve'imru amen Ose shalom bimromav Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu Ve'al kol Yisrael Ve'imeru amen Ose shalom bimromav Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel Ve'imru amen Ve'imru amen.
Now is the moment in the service where we'll take out the Torah and Eli will read from the scroll and then he'll teach us some of the lessons that he has learned. Before that, we're going to pass the Torah down through the generations, and in that part of the ceremony, we involve the grandparents. We want to wish a huge mazel tov to Eli's grandparents, Phil Gazen, Nancy Gazen, Howard Levine, and MJ Levine. I want to ask them all to be part of this by coming and joining us on the bima for the passing of the Torah. So you can do that. You can remove your masks and come and join us. And everyone else, please rise.
Eli, as you receive this Torah, remember its teachings, its wisdom, and its history. Let it guide you this day and all days. As you embrace it, so may you embrace what it has meant for the Jewish people over the generations. Judaism is history and hope, learning and laughter. We pray that the story of the Jewish people continues brightly with you as you grow as a person and as a Jew. May you embrace the Torah your whole life.
Join us. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadol Adonai iti, uneromema Shemo yachdav. Okay, Eli, you're gonna give that to the rabbi. Okay, and then you pull the yad off. Okay, good. And then can you pull the top of the dress off? Just straight up. Yep. It's a workout.
Please be seated.
Okay. We're gonna put our masks on. Go ahead and read your Torah intro.
The Torah portion for this Shabbat that I will be reading is called Korach. It comes from the book of Numbers, and my Hebrew reading begins with chapter 16, verse 1. In this portion, Korach, Dathan, and Abiram rebel against the leadership of Moses and Aaron. This is the most serious rebellion Moses and Aaron faced during their 40 years of wandering in the desert.
And for the honor of the first Aliyah, we'd like to call up Jim Levine and Ali Gazin, Eli's aunt and uncle.
That's right. That's over here. Okay, if you can, are you right-handed? If you can hold that with your left hand, that's great. You come over to this side of the podium. Just step right up here. That's great.
Baruch atah, Baruch Adonai HaBarak,
Baruch Adonai HaBarak Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai, Baruch Adonai HaBarak Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bakar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayikach Korach ben Yitzar ben Kehat ben Levi v'Datan v'Aviram b'nei Eliav v'On ben Pelet b'nei Reuven Vayakumu lifnei Moshe v'anashim mibnei Yisrael hamishim u'matayim Nisi'e Eda, Kriye Moed, Anshe Shem, Vayikahalu, Al Moshe ve'al Aharon, Vayomeru Alehem, Rav Lachem, Ki Ho Ha'eda, Kulam Kedoshim, Uftocham Adonai, Umadua Titnaseu, Al Kehal
Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan v'tokenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Thank you so much. For the honor of the second Aliyah, we'd like to call Jessica and Mia Levine, Eli's cousins. On the side.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayishma Moshe Vayipol al panav Vayedaber el Korach ve'el kol adato lemor boker ve'yoda Adonai et asher lo ve'et hakadosh v'higriv elav ve'et asher yivhar bo yakriv elav zo asu kehu lachem machtot korach v'cho adato utenu vachen esh v'simu alechen ketoret lifnei Adonai mahar v'haya ha'ish asher yivhar Adonai hu hakadosh rav lachem b'nei Levi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'hayei olam nata b'tohenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Thank you so much, ladies. You can go have a seat. And for the final and third aliyah, we'll call our Bar Mitzvah boy up by his Hebrew name for the first time as Bar Mitzvah. Ya'amod, 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 Habachur Bar HaMitzvah, Eli Elchanan ben Matityahu v'chan aliyah LaTorah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vayomer Moshe el Korach Shim'una b'nei Levi Hame'at mikem ki hivdil Elohei Yisrael etechem me'adat Yisrael lahakriv etchem elav la'avod et avodat Mishkan Adonai v'la'amod lifnei ha'edah l'sharetam v'yakrev otecha v'et kol achecha b'nei Levi itach uvikashtem gam kehuna lachen ata v'chol adatecha hu hanoadim al Adonai ve'aharon mahu ki talinu alav.
Well done.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'hayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Wow, beautiful job, Eli. You're done with the Hebrew. Deep breath. You did it. You did great. And now as we close up the Torah and say some final blessings and Eli prepares to give us his speech, we'd like to invite Sydney up to come dress the Torah.
Please be seated. And Eli, fantastic job. Now you get to go back to English, and we'd love to hear the teaching that you have prepared for us.
So, as I said, my Torah portion is about Korach's attempted rebellion against Moses and Aaron because they're being holier than everyone else. Moses tells Korach, Dathan, and Abiram to bring offerings to the sanctuary the next day. That next day, leaders of the rebellion and their followers are punished. Some are swallowed by the earth, and some are killed by fire or plague. Korach was interested in this rebellion because he thought that he could boost his ego or be seen as dominant. If he just stuck together as a team with all his other Israelites and wasn't so worried about his own fame, he might not have been punished like he was. A lesson that we can all take from this story is that we all must not strive for glory, but if we work as a team, we can be successful in completing our goal. People in our society struggle with this idea of working together because they get so caught up in the fact of the attention that they could get or how they could be in control. When people get caught up in the idea of how much power they could get, they become self-absorbed. They struggle to listen to people's ideas. They can't believe that they may be wrong or that their opinions could be changed because of someone's argument. We all see this in our everyday lives. We've all been in a situation where we know we may be wrong or that someone else's ideas may be better than ours, but we struggle to admit it. This is prevalent in our lives today. A good example of something like this is in sports. A baseball team could have, say, the best player of all time, but then nobody else is good on that team. This team, despite having the best player, wouldn't do very well because that one player couldn't beat a whole team of people who are working together. That one player wouldn't be able to pitch, catch, and field at the same time. The players on the other team would look out for each other by making plays and working together. Another example of this idea would be in basketball, which is another sport I play. I know that if I want to win, I'm going to have to work together with my teammates. I know I can't just shoot the ball nonstop. I must pass it. If I pass the ball instead of shooting, I could create opportunities for my teammates and give the team a better chance to win. I'm sure we all remember the quarantine from last year that is still sort of the thing. I certainly do. I remember taking daily walks around my neighborhood with my family and seeing so many signs of people working to stay together. I remember seeing a whole street covered in chalk drawings that gave us hope. People staying together but apart gave me hope. We've all been also wearing masks for quite some time now. And that is a great example of people working together. We have all worked together to stay healthy by wearing masks and social distancing. These are all the things that have kept us working together while apart. I hope that these examples I've shown you all today have helped teach a lesson, a very important lesson at that, the lesson of teamwork and not being a hero. This lesson is so important in life because if you are trying to be the hero and not working with a team, you can be seen as very ignorant and very selfish. That is how God saw this rebellion. So the rebels were killed. Lastly, I would like to give some thank yous. First, I would like to thank my family for supporting me through this whole process of learning my Hebrew, writing my speech, and just for keeping me from feeling too nervous throughout the process of becoming a Jewish adult. Thank you. I would also like to thank all the rabbis and cantors who helped me prepare for today. Thanks. Lastly, I would like to thank Cantor Mandel, my awesome Hebrew tutor, who taught me all of the Hebrew that I just previously read. I couldn't have done any of this today without all of you. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Stay there for a second, Eli, because I want to talk to you a little bit while you stand there, and I also just need to do this. Sorry. I mean, you are 13, you're a man, but, everyone needs help sometimes. So, it's my fault because I gave you that clip and it didn't work right, so. Eli, that was great. What a great teaching about how it's not all about us, right? About how we need to work as a team and work with other people. I think that is really the greatest lesson that we can learn from the story of Korach. Korach is a great story, and we can look at the character, the man of Korach, and learn what not to do, right? The Torah portion is named Korach, actually, after the man about whom it is. But the truth is that our Torah portions aren't really named because of the topic. Our Torah portions are named because of the first word that appears in the portion. Or sometimes the second or the third word, they choose the first kind of unique or important word. But I think actually, in looking at this Torah portion, that the sages who decided on those names of the portions might have missed an important opportunity here. Korach is a good name for this portion, but I think they could have chosen the first word of this portion, which is a strange one. It's vayikach. Okay? That's the first thing that you say when you read your from the scroll, right? Vayikach Korach. Okay? Vayikach means and he took. So Korach took. So it's maybe we call it Korach because it's the person, but and he took Korach. And maybe the reason that we didn't choose that word vayikach is because it's very unclear what that word and he took, what that word's function is in the sentence. It's strange. It says, and he took Korach and Datan and Aviram and all these, Bar Levi and all these different people are named, right? And after the list of people, it says, and they got up and they went and they talked to Moses. So what did they take, right? It was actually a very misplaced word. That word isn't telling us anything. So the sages actually look at this and they try, everything in Judaism, when there's an extra word in Torah, it's a field day for the sages because they get to say, every word in Torah is important and we have to learn something from it. So what did Korah take? If the Torah doesn't tell us, what did he take? So some of the sages say, well, it means that he took these other guys. He took this group and he brought them together and said, hey, let's go and rebel. Another rabbi says that he took it upon himself, like he took the liberty to challenge Moses. And another one says, well, it kind of means he kind of betook himself, like he took himself and he got up and he did it. But none of them really make that much sense. And I think maybe we're left with just the idea that this was the problem with Korah, is that that's all he did, is he took. Korah was somebody who was a taker. He just always took. And he's contrasted in this story with Moses, who, when Moses reacts to what Korah has done, the Torah tells us that he falls on his face. So that's the opposite, right? It's the ultimate act of humbling himself, of being humble, that he threw himself down and considered, what had he done wrong here? What can he do? Now, Judaism doesn't actually teach us that we should always be like Moses is in this situation, that we should always be as humble or as meek as we can be. In fact, the best we could ever do in Judaism to be humble is not to step back as much as possible or make ourselves as small as possible, but actually find a balance in between. Just to be just right, to be taking enough of a role for ourselves, but not too much. So it's not that we shouldn't take. We have to take in our lives, right? We have to do what's right for us, and not only that, but we have to take responsibility for the things around us. It's a matter of how much we take. Do we take all the time? Do we never take? Or do we take when we need to? There's a teaching that I love that a rabbi said a long time ago, that we should walk around with 2 pieces of paper in our pockets. And one of them says, it was for you that the world was created. And the other piece of paper says, I am but dust and ashes. And actually, in moments when we feel like we're acting like Korah, and we're too full of ourselves, maybe we're taking all the shots on the basketball court, we need to take out that second piece of paper and remind us that it's not about us, that we are not that important. And in moments when we are feeling meek, and it's not that we're trying to be too giving, but it's that we're not stepping forward and doing what needs to be done, that we have to remember how important we are and that we matter, and we take out the piece of paper that reminds us that the world was created for us, that we are important here. So I hope that, and I sense actually this from you, Eli, that you know that it's not all about you, but you also know that there's a place for standing in your place and for stepping up and doing what needs to be done and saying what needs to be said. And when you take the tradition as you did and you accepted the Torah from the generations past, that needs to be done with enough humility to learn lessons and accept wisdom, but also with enough strength and enough courage and enough knowledge of your importance to add your part, to question what needs to be changed, and to help us to take our Judaism and take our society to the next level in the next generation. And I think that you're ready to do that. That's why you become Bar Mitzvah. So congratulations on that. And Cantor Zell and I want to offer a blessing, really on behalf of all of us and on behalf of the congregation for you. And for this moment, I want to ask you to gather with your parents and with Sydney right here on the bima, facing the ark. Sydney, if you can come forward. And Matt and Heather, you'll stand here. And I'd like to ask everybody to rise. May God bless you and keep you. Eli, throughout your life, may God always turn God's face to you and be gracious to you. May God always shine a light on you and give you both courage and humility, give you strength and conviction, and also love and joy. May you feel grounded and strengthened by your community, by your family, by those who love you, and may you have the courage to reach out to others as well. And most of all, may God fill you with fullness, with peace, with shalom. Amen.
Taking your place in an enduring line. This is the day that you stood up to say our tradition.